Social media is the lifeblood of our daily lives. We're emotionally triggered 24/7 by posts and memes we see on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. But social media lacks context, which is why I'm here. My name is Crystal Jordan, and it's time for a social conversation with clarity. Let's get crystal clear. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another edition of Let's Get Crystal Clear. Now, the purpose of this show is to take content that we see on social media in short clips and add context to it in a full conversation so that we can actually, find solutions for some of the things that happen on social media. One of the recent conversations centered around TD Jakes' clip on "Are today's women being raised to be men?" Well, Pastor TD Jakes got quite a backlash for his comments about women and how today's woman has taken on the role of a man. But even before TD Jakes, we heard Kevin Samuels, rest in peace, talk quite a bit about how feminine women were more attractive, but so many of today's women were exhibiting masculine personality traits as opposed to feminine, and it was not healthy for the dynamic between men and women. Today, we're going to get into that conversation with two dating relationship coaches from social media and talk about, first of all, are today's women acting like men? And if so, how is that affecting the dynamic between men and women as we look to building healthy relationships? Stay right there. We're coming right back with the conversation we're starting with Lou, who was a social media influencer focused on interpreting the emotions of women. And we're going to dissect why today's women are definitely acting in their masculine energy. What's going on? Stay right there. We're coming back with Let's Get Crystal Clear. All right, welcome back to Let's Get Crystal Clear. My first guest for today's conversation is Lou, also known as King Hundo. He is a social media influencer, and he has a very specific skill. He has an OnlyFans account where he teaches men how to give women sexual pleasure. Sexual pleasure, i.e. back-to-back vaginal orgasms. So in addition to teaching men how to help women with their sexual prowess, he also has great conversation that he shares on his Instagram and YouTube and OnlyFans as well. And so I saw something that he posted about women acting in a masculine way, and I thought he would be a great guest to enter this conversation. So please help me welcome Lou to Let's Get Crystal Clear.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Now, you're from Philly.
Yes.
So you came to hang out with us in ATL for the day.
Yes, I did.
Now, it's kind of interesting because usually I talk to a lot of dating and relationship coaches. Mm-hmm. I have never talked to someone that makes actual videos teaching men how to give women pleasure.
Okay.
And so a lot of people would think, are these do you consider this porn?
I don't know.
You don't? Okay.
Yeah, because it's not acting, it's not about fantasy or any of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's
I
real.
Consider it educational.
Educational. Yeah. Okay. How did you get started doing this?
Well, basically being young, having the desire to be good at sex.
Okay.
And reading like all the little top 10 tips in the magazines and like the aisles and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And through trial and error, basically not really knowing if it was working or not until one day I got like this text message from a girl that told me that I had made her orgasm 9 times one day and 13 times the next time. 13? Yeah.
How long were y'all having sex?
Not even 30 minutes. Yeah.
I almost want to cut and ask some other questions. No, but that is interesting. And we all know, that I've had conversations with girlfriends offline and also conversations on relationship panels. We know that women often, we're conditioned to feed men's egos, right? Yeah. During sex. So we're taught to lie. We're taught to lie during sex. And most of the time women are lying, yes. and I think it's a part of what we believe is a part of the experience, right? But I love the fact that women often take classes. We see women taking classes on how to perform better, but I didn't know if men wanted to know the same thing. It seems like men just automatically assume that they're doing the right things when they're often not.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. I didn't think men want to know either. That's why I wasn't sure if I could actually monetize this and still get the message out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I figured I'd have to give it out for free at first.
Okay.
And that did work too.
Okay.
But people do value stuff that they have to pay for.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I did it that way, it kind of made it more official. It gave it, it put it under the umbrella of the brand of OnlyFans, which people know already and stuff. So it makes it all official. And then with the, I do like, what's it called? The social proof. So I use the comments people leave and stuff like that to show what's going on inside there.
Right.
So it, with women, it's mostly the fact that women agree with what I'm saying.
Right. And I've seen some of the things that you said, and I can vouch for it. So that's why I thought, you would be a great guest for today, because women's emotions are a big part of the sexual experience.
Yeah.
So I think a man who knows what he's doing in the bedroom has to really understand women's emotions.
Yes, you should. I can't say that the two always come together. You know what I mean? It's like somebody that knows how to make money in a specific way might not be intelligent in all areas.
True.
So it's like, I know that there's guys who might figure this stuff out by accident, but might not understand the woman. And that's what I said. That's because of marketing. I was able to listen to women and get the information in a different way that if they was just talking to me and I was just hearing them straight.
Right. So we need to give men incentives to listen.
Yeah.
No, that's good. So let's get into today's topic, because I reached out to you and I told you I saw the clip that TD Jakes put out that went viral. But even before that, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels was one of the people on social media talking a lot about women being in a masculine form, right?
Yeah.
And I saw a video that you put out on your social media platform, kind of talking about why so many women show up in a masculine form.
Yeah.
And I just want to let's go into that a little bit, and then let's talk about why we hear so many men complaining. That's a common theme that we see, but we haven't dove into understanding why these things have changed. We know that men are saying women are acting masculine, women are not being feminine, but no one's really talking about why. So what prompted you to have that conversation? And I think it was based on something Kevin Samuel said.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, dude, to be honest with you. He's really good at marketing too, or was really good at marketing too. It's one of the reasons that I decided to listen, because he knew what he was doing. So what he did was he started the conversation, right? Now, a lot of times when, like, you could try to gently wake somebody up and they might snooze right through that, right? That's why you need an alarm clock. He was like an alarm clock. So that created a conversation, but not necessarily in a way that everybody wanted to have it, right? But he did it in a way that allowed men to hear, right? So, of course, women are hearing it in a way that they don't like, because a lot of the conversation has to do with tone when you're talking to women. With men, it's not necessarily that way. We hear the message behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, what people don't understand is that he was telling us to stop worshiping masculine women. Stop letting women carry all the bags. Stop letting women be the strong single mother. Like, stop worshiping that image. And that tells you, it instinctively tells you what to do. It like intuitively, you kind of know how to fall into your role once you're like, oh wait, they don't want to be that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because before, it's not that women are going around and saying, I don't want to be that.
No. That's
kind of a new thing. You know, I'm just now hearing women say, you know what, I'm going to be the damsel in distress now. Because now it's like, oh, wait, so being a strong woman, oh, that means that you eventually let me carry everything because you believe it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think is the beauty of the message. Of course, like, he didn't say it in the best way, but when you say things politely over and over again and people keep projecting or deflecting, eventually you raise your voice. That's what happens.
Right.
So, and then eventually, once you know that that's the pattern, you stop having patience in between when you raise your voice. So that's what I get from what he was doing. You know what I mean? So I wanted to say it in a way that I knew women would hear. Yeah. Because that's really the point he's trying to get at, you know.
I can get everything that you said about Kevin Samuels. So I first was introduced to what he was saying. I immediately heard the tone and presentation, and I was enraged, right? And then as I kept listening, there are certain things I would agree with, but I feel like you can have 90% corn and 10% poison, and that poison, that 10% will kill you. So
Yeah.
if we're highlighting the negative and talking about it from a standpoint of being accusatory towards women, then the message is not really resonating, because it's just causing us to fight back and forth. And that's why it's important to add context to these conversations like we're doing today.
Right.
So Kevin Samuels had been saying that, and then we heard T.D. Jakes actually during a sermon at the Potter's house had the conversation, and he went into detail and definitely was he had a different perspective than Kevin Samuels, but the bottom line was the same, that we're raising women today that are being taught to act like men. Now, from your perspective, and it's surprising for me to hear men say that they didn't know that women didn't want to do that. I don't understand. As a woman who has probably been accused of being masculine by other men, I remember dating a guy, and I would, work all day and, try to come home and keep the house together. And I remember asking him to help, and he said, well, my mother did all of it, so he felt like that's what women should do. And I remember thinking, like, I feel like I'm a horse and you are strapping, stuff to my back. You think that I want to be in this role. I don't.
Right.
But I thought that men understood. We don't.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you one thing, that we think the easiest way to please a woman is to ask you what you want. So then we don't get it wrong, right?
Right.
Because we could get the Christmas gift or the Valentine's Day birthday gift, whatever, with our thought of what we think, right? And then we give you the gift and you're like, oh, well, thanks. It would have been much easier if we'd have asked you, but then that takes out the thing that makes it special, right?
Right.
So it's like understanding women that way, and then women have to also understand us that way too.
Right.
So that's the reason we just want to get it right and make sure you're happy. But asking you all the time makes you feel like you're the one having to make all decisions, which doesn't make you happy.
True.
Right. So it's counterintuitive as a man to think that way. So it's not easy. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Women may be a tad bit complicated, just a little bit. So we want to be solutions driven, right? I know that, like I said, people hear these little snippets and they run with it, and it felt T.D. Jakes had a huge backlash because people were really angry about him saying, women felt like he was saying that they were wrong and there's something wrong with women, right?
Okay.
So what from your perspective, from the women that you've encountered,
that's the way to put it.
How do we start to change the narrative? But most importantly, even more important than the narrative, is how do we change the behavior and the foundation for our culture, so that women are able to show up in their authentic way and men are able to be in their authentic way as well.
That's it. It's going to be very tough, because really, this is the thing. As a man, I have felt responsible for a very long time, right? So what has to happen is women do have to take accountability, because men have felt responsible, and we have heard how bad we are and how we drop the ball forever. The party that hasn't heard that, mainly because it is not in anyone's best interest to tell women the truth.
What?
It's not in marketers' best interest. It's definitely not in men who want to have sex with women's best interest to tell y'all the truth. So, so that leaves you in a very protected place, right? But men are not. So what has to happen is these conversations have to happen in a way that allow women to hear, so that it's okay to take accountability, because if you are doing the this and that, it's going to be really hard for anyone to take accountability, right? But the truth is, there was a campaign specifically created to do this to women, not to men. It happens to us because all we care about is y'all. So if they get y'all, then they get us. Now, one thing in particular, right? There's a thing that not a lot of people know about. It's called the Cloward and Pittman strategy. Okay. Right? And people could look into this themselves, but one of the main things that they were trying to do was make men obsolete. And by doing that, their goal, these are socialist people, they want to make men obsolete so that they can cripple this nation, right? They do that by implementing the idea of welfare as reparations a while back. Now, what that does is it creates a culture for the first time of women that don't need men to survive. And this is the results of that. You see what I'm saying? Now, of course, you can't have welfare for mans in the house, but that's only one generation of people. Them people can leave the house and still they'll do that to get the money, but that's not the thing is the women that were born from that generation that no longer needed men.
Right.
So if I don't need you, I don't have to cooperate with you. And that's what we are today. You see what I'm saying? We are chasing individual happiness instead of community happiness. So we don't need each other for that. You know what I mean? When we were focused on community before the idea of personal happiness became a thing, which is around the exact same time as that cloud pivot stuff. When it was about community, you wouldn't even have to ask these things.
Yeah.
The opposite was looked at as crazy, and now it's the other way. So that's what I think.
Wow. That is, I mean, I agree with you in a way. You know, I think especially for the African American community, we know that we've been programmed, right, for there to be dissension between in the family, starting with the black man and the black woman. But I think I agree that, you know, the welfare system and all that was created to empower the woman, make her head of household. He could not be in the household because if he was, then they wouldn't receive assistance, right? But today we see more women actually being ambitious, being in leadership roles. And, you know, I'm not saying that men aren't as well, but you find women acting in masculine ways because we're put in that position. So if you were born into a family, your mother was on welfare, and your mother we know mothers teach their daughters and love their sons. They teach their daughters, you gotta provide for yourself, right? A man may leave you, you have to provide. It's interesting to me how men don't understand that it's not necessarily we wanted to do this. If you're born into that, you don't know any different. You didn't see a man act as a man in a family as head of household. You saw a grandmother as head of household, and you followed suit, right? So at that point, how does that trickle down to the relationship dynamic today?
Okay, I think that in that case, because that would take a deliberate act, right? That's if I was used, say for example, I was raised by a single mom. She's the strongest person I know. That ended up being bad for the women that I was dealing with because I kept comparing them and wanting them to be that strong or whatever. So in my situation, I had to learn to understand that even if she fights my leadership, she wants me to still be the leader.
Yes.
But that's not rational.
To me, it makes perfect sense.
It's not. That's
because
the thing.
I don't trust you to be the leader until you show me.
Yeah, right? And now but the thing is, right, unless I know this going into it, I'll be battered by the time you trust me. That's the thing. Now I don't want to be the leader anymore. Now I don't want to have no conversations, no debates, no arguments, just whatever you want, just that. You know, you see what I'm saying? That's what ends up happening. So that's where I'm saying where it has to be some level of accountability because it's a language that men do not come standard at understanding. It is not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you're not really like I like to try to solve the problem, right?
Right.
But if I wasn't that kind of person, I might just be jaded by now.
Wow.
You see what I mean? So that's the part of that where I've had a woman where I asked her one time, and I'll try to say this quick. I asked her, you know, how are you when you fall in love? And she was like, I'm obsessed, right? And we get in a relationship and every day I'm the nicest guy ever. And you need this. And every time I ask her the baby, you want what? You want what? And I'm like, one day I'm come to the room to ask her if she hungry. What? I just want to know if you want something to eat. Oh, okay, And I come back, I'm like, can't wait till you fall in love.
It's taking a long time.
Yeah, and at that point, that's when it clicked what she was being. And when we talked after our relationship, she was like, and by that time, you had started being so mean to me. And I was like, yeah, I was burnt out. Yeah, I was tired of being a punching bag. You see what I'm saying? So
it's interesting because I can admit I've gone through some changes, and my audience knows I recently got married, and my husband has said, when are the walls coming down? Because I've been doing everything that I've ever told you. I've always shown up and done that.
Okay.
But I've never seen that. So this is a new experience for me.
Okay.
Right? So it's interesting how me being in my natural state of having my walls up, how is that battering you? How is that beating you down? I'm serious. He's laughing. I'm so serious.
Okay. Well, let me put it this way. I think the easiest way to understand the man's plight with women, if I could use that word, would be to liken it to the situation of a woman with her child. You know, that's unconditional right there.
Yeah.
No matter what they do, you don't leave.
Right.
So it would be like if someone the child you cared about didn't understand that what you were doing was loving for them.
Okay.
That's how I see
that.
it.
That is interesting. I know we're running out of time, and this is good. I want to ask you, like, just the response that you got back from the clip that you put out about your interpretation of Kevin Samuels' conversation, and even the work that you do, the work that you do to move the Black community to a more unified place. What message would you give other men about women that they may not know? If they're not a marketer, they don't have, the incentive to get to know women through marketing and trying to make money. What message do you think that men are missing out on in relation to how they interact with women that may be, in a space that may feel masculine?
Yeah. Okay. One thing I will say is women do want you to be the leader. There's a weird thing where some women actually like to be upset that you are putting your foot down, and they actually feel fulfilled through that. Might feel weird, but that's the truth. So be a leader, follow your gut and your heart, but you gotta be right at the end of the day consistently, or else you can't really ask anybody to follow you. So it's also really good, I think, to learn marketing, because it'll be one of the easiest ways to be able to actually listen to women when you can understand that. It's like sales psychology, I think, is the way that you would put it. Understanding marketing that way, so that you can understand how to listen to the women and what they're actually saying versus what we hear. Like when a woman says, "Don't call me again," right? She wants you to continually call her, and it doesn't make sense to us, but that's because she's trying to test you in a way that you think literally, and you want to give her space because you respect her as a woman, because that's what you've been taught to do. She wants you to call her over and over again until she picks up the phone and pretends like she doesn't want to talk to you. So it's a language. I'll try to make more videos on this stuff in the future, because there ain't a lot of resources out there for this stuff. But yeah, that's what I would do.
No, I agree. And I think I learned about myself through dealing with horses. Like people know that horses there's like leadership curriculums built on horses, right? So a horse will not connect with you or bond with you if they don't trust you. They don't trust you to be the leader. You get on my back and tell me where to go. I'm not going to do what you say unless I trust that you are able to keep both of us safe.
Right.
And I think I had a horse that I just would try to get her to, she would not respond to me. I had to be forceful and show her I meant business, which seems mean, but she responded to that and our bond grew. And I think that's how women see men. I can't follow you unless I know and I trust your judgment and leadership. So if I test you, my horse would test me a lot. She'll do stuff. And if I get scared, that shows her I'm not a great leader.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's a lot. That's kind of how I learned. Wait a minute, I'm acting like the horse because I thought the horse was mean, but she was just responding in instinct. I thank you so much. This conversation was great. We definitely want to make sure that people are following you, because you're going to keep putting out content to help men understand women, and maybe help women understand the disconnect that men often had. Stay right there. We're going to come right back with our next guest, and we're going to try to bring a little bit more context to this conversation and, hopefully get to some resolve. Solutions driven right here on Let's Get Crystal Clear. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We had a great conversation with Lou. Definitely want to make sure that you guys follow him on social. My next guest is going to round out the context for this conversation. He is a TV host, social media influencer, and he's also a dating and relationship coach that focuses on helping people learn to date again after divorce. Please help me welcome Rob Malloy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now, we've been on some relationship panels together. I've known about you for a while, and I love the fact that you focus on people that have been through divorce and dating after, because I definitely, it's a different experience once you failed at something, or you feel like you failed at something. Definitely. What made you decide to make this your focus after you went through your situation?
Yeah, just real quick. I've been married twice.
Okay.
The first time I got married, I was 21 years old. I was in the military, and that's a whole nother situation. A lot of vets can understand that dynamic. But when I tried it again years later, the process was different, and I even said to myself, "This is going to be it." So I believed in love. I believe in love. I believe in marriage, and it was just a situation where I keep finding out more things about me. When some people bring out certain things about you that you did not know that you had, some good, some to your detriment, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to help people navigate after the fact, so you don't feel like love isn't for you, so that you don't feel like marriage doesn't work. And, you was with that one person. And there's an opportunity to meet a lot of people that will be a better fit for you.
Right.
So that was my goal.
Yeah, I like that because I think a lot of people do feel like after divorce,
Yeah.
it feels like a personal failure.
Right.
A lot of what we're talking about today kind of leads into that, which is why I'm glad that you are here. We want to be solutions driven here at Let's Get Crystal Clear. So we were talking about this social media conversation that today's woman is too masculine, right? Lou and I were talking about how Kevin Samuels, again, rest in peace, he did a lot to kind of jumpstart this conversation. But recently, T.D. Jakes, a globally known pastor, addressed it during a sermon at his church. And again, that clip went viral and a lot of the feedback was very negative. What did you think when you saw the initial clip with T.D. Jakes?
Well, I felt like he felt that what he said, that message needs to be out there, and to kind of counterattack what social media is, the narrative.
Right.
And so, I thought it was cool. I can't relate because I don't feel like there's a lot of women here acting in their masculinity. I actually don't have that issue, and I believe that has a lot to do with my growth. I do remember at some point when I didn't know what my mission was and I wasn't walking in my purpose, I would have a lot of backlash. I would have issues with women and being challenged and things like that. But you literally have to elevate yourself. And once you elevate yourself and your frequency is higher, your output and your outcomes will be a lot different than it was before. So by him doing that, I think the purpose was to kind of shake some things up. And it also was a way to kind of get that message out there. Like, hey, this is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Because he's married, so he's not out in the streets.
He's married. And I think it is important to point out that most Black churches are the majority of the congregation is African American females, right? So he's talking to women, you know, and a lot of those women look to him as their leader. A lot of them are single, and that is where a lot of women go for the male influence, in their life comes from church. Lou and I talked about like the reasons that some of this narrative has started, and you and I actually had a chance to chat briefly about what has happened in especially the Black community that has led to women being more in a head of household role, which some would term masculine, and men kind of being on the outside of that.
You have to laugh at the whole situation because if you really concentrate on it, it's a sad situation, that it's like that. I come from a 2-parent home. My parents are still married. Like I said, 78 and 80 years old. Shout out to Rob and Bob and D. Malloy. What I've seen with them, being the youngest of 4, is I've never seen them argue. I've never seen them argue. Now, some may say, okay, well, that's cool. But at the same time, that means I wasn't taught conflict resolution, right? So that means if they go in the room and, whatever goes on in the room, they come back smiling. I don't know if that's an act or if it's actual resolve. So that was one of the things that I brought to my marriages, not being able to resolve conflict, not knowing what the tools are, what the steps are, to at least discover what's best for us. And so a lot of times, and what I like to help with those that are now dating after divorce, I can explain to the ladies why that guy had that stupid look on his face when she was asking, well, why'd you do that?
Right.
Or explain yourself and things like that, because I had that dumb look.
What is that dumb look?
Well, it's case by case, but sometimes it's like he feels like we're already together. I don't have to explain anything to you. Let's just move on to the next thing. Or he knows what it takes for her to get over it. Now, whether that's buying her something, whether that's the physical situation. And so he just wants to get past those moments to get to the better times.
Yeah.
And so that's the defense mechanism for some people.
Yeah. Well, we talk about women, especially in today's culture. We know women are in leadership positions.
Yeah.
They are, Lou earlier mentioned a lot of women don't feel like they need men, right? And I think, I can admit after I went through my divorce, I told myself I did not want to be desperate, right? I didn't want to be one of those women that was just, please love me, please love me.
Right.
And so I decided to create an environment for my children where they wouldn't miss out on anything because, financially, one is definitely at a disadvantage to two.
Yeah.
So I worked enough for two to try to make sure that they did not feel that slight. I felt like I didn't want them to feel like they grew up in a broken home. So as a result of that, I was working, I stepped into that role. I can admit that was very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
I was making all the decisions. I was working a lot. I felt overwhelmed with the responsibility of being in the head of household position. Yet, as a Black woman, I'm taught I don't have the luxury of sitting around waiting. No one is coming to save us.
Right.
I have to push through. So how can we kind of start to resolve this issue to where men can understand that women are in this position? Many of them have been put in that position.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to be there.
Yeah.
But there's no such thing as we don't need each other. It may be I can't allow you to know that I'm missing that, because if I do that, I could get stuck there.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. That's great. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think it's important for us as males to understand, number one, we have a purpose, and that may not be something that people want to talk about, but it has everything to do with leadership and it has everything to do with companionship. Because you have the wrong people connecting, and one thing that I always like to mention is people that are dating after divorce are very unique. On one end, people may figure that they're a failure. They can't keep a man or they can't keep a woman. But at the same time, this is also an individual that has been in a covenant. This is a person that has been beyond a commitment of just connecting. So these are two people that are literally planning to be together forever. And so they're going to do whatever is in their power. The difference between that and somebody that's just dating, if you don't like what I'm doing or how I'm doing it, I'm out. Right. So you don't have to be at that fork in the road to where, are we going to make this work for the rest of our lives, or I'm going to just figure it out? Because a lot of times what happens is just because you're no longer with that person and you think you see something that's better, you start dating other people and you're like, you know what, I was better off with who I was with.
Right.
At least I knew what I was dealing with, because all these jokers out here, women are jokers too, right? Let's be clear, right? But all these
I ain't never heard us called jokers before. But
wait, you've heard it first, right? But so the fact is, there's work that always has to be done, and it's ongoing.
Right.
That's one thing that I can take away from my parents, even though they don't have the perfect marriage and never had, and never said that they did. They're willing to put in the work for longevity. So that means they have to already be thinking we're in this,
right,
and we're going to do whatever it takes. We're also going to take minimum risks to bust this thing up. So that's a difference, because people feel like, hey, you know what? I'm in a better position now.
Right.
Now I can actually meet people of a higher caliber, so I'm not worried about you. But they like to mask that, saying I've outgrown. I've outgrown this person.
That is true. I think that's a cop out. The outgrowing is a cop out. Let me ask you this. So you're counseling people that are doing that. We're in Atlanta. There are a lot of very, very successful women with a bunch of accolades and degrees and letters and homes and property. So what is your advice to men that are looking to, date and may be interested in a woman that is very accomplished, and that comes with its own set of, I don't necessarily think it's intimidation, but it just has its own set of it's its own dynamic, right?
I agree. Yeah.
How do you counsel or coach men when they're their ideal woman is an accomplished woman, but that woman, it may be a different approach to get her interest.
Yeah, I agree. Women of that caliber, it's interesting because they get approached every day, every single day, right? Mm-hmm. Now, it may not be the guys that they prefer, but it's still the effort and the intention. Obviously, women like to know that a man has good intentions, and it can be something as simple as, hey, I just want to compliment you. Hey, I just want to get to know you a little bit better, whether it's building a friendship first, and really just kind of taking away that predatorial approach.
Right.
I think that's really, really important. But my advice to any man, and which is advice that I take, is number one, understand your mission and your purpose. Right. And that's something that I don't take lightly. Finding your identity is so key because that is a direct correlation to your leadership skills.
Right.
It lets you know if you need to work on your leadership skills, hone in on those skills, or if you actually need help, And so I think one of the most things that I've heard that women find attractive is a man that continues to build on his character and build on his skill set. He doesn't have to have all the answers, but lets you know, look, I don't have all of the answers, but I'm willing to go to the source and be resourceful.
Right.
And so we're in a society and a dating climate where men feel like we have to look like we already have it together.
Yeah.
So that comes through nicer cars, nicer clothes, being a little bit flashy and doing those things. But when you take away, and this goes for women as well, when you take away, your money, when you take care of all your clothes and rings and all that stuff, who are you to the core? So if we can get to who that person is to the core, because again, we both have layers, right? We both have layers. So if we can peel those back, then we can find out if we're a better match or not.
Right. I agree on that. Let me ask you this, because this is something that came up in this conversation about women being more masculine and feeling like they don't need a man.
Right.
What do you say? Because there's a lot of women. I have a good friend. One of my closest friends is multimillionaire. She's female. She's a multimillionaire. And she will date men. She doesn't necessarily require that they're at that same level. Yeah. But she wants to know that he's able to provide for her. She does not want to pay for her own trip and his trip, right? And a lot of men are like, are you kidding me? Like, why does she feel like she needs to be taken care of?
Yeah.
Do you know that as a man, do you feel the difference between, because I think women, no matter their tax bracket, when they're looking for a partner, especially, to get married, they do want someone that is able to take care of them.
Right.
And I don't know that men understand that a multimillionaire still wants to know that her partner is able to take care of her.
Yeah. And that's okay. I think that's all right. I think that's okay. I think there's 4 things that men have to learn to be very, very good at before even being attractive to a woman. The first thing would be protect. The second thing would be secure, have her feel secure in her position. The third thing would be respect. And the fourth thing would be reassure. You reassure all those 3 things. And so when it comes to it, when you talk about protection, obviously that don't mean, you got to have hands. Preferably you got hands, that's good, right?
Right.
But not just that, meaning she needs to feel protected even when you guys aren't together. So she needs to feel like, whatever I'm going through, I know that he has my back and he's going to protect my heart all the way from my outside, right? The secure part is being secure, meaning where we're at, what are we doing? That's why you ladies ask questions, because you're like, yo, what's going on? I don't want to be floating. So
I agree with that. I ask a lot of questions.
Right. So if we can just understand that, then we wouldn't feel like it's nagging. It's just that, she wants to know that she's secure in a position. And of course, the third thing is respect. Respect your time, your energy, your resources.
Right.
And respect you even when I'm not around, which is most important, right? And then the fourth thing, of course, is reassurance. That's why y'all ask, well, how do we look? You know what I'm saying? What do you think about my hair? What do you think about my, you know what I'm saying? Because you want reassurance. Y'all know y'all fine. Come on, you see what I see, But just the reassurance, because you get compliments thousands of times a day from the people that's not the most important.
Right. So as I would say, women, at least, from my experience, the women I know, you can get compliments a lot, but you really want it from that man that you care about. Right. We're different in the way that we approach the situation. So if we're dating, even if we're dating multiple men, but we really, really care about one, you really want more from him. You want that reassurance.
Step up, bro.
Yeah, you want it from him. You could be getting it from so many other men.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So how do you think that plays out when it comes to finance? Because a lot of this conversation has to do with, I feel like I have control or I'm in a powerful position if I have a certain amount of money.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah. And to the point I wanted to get to, when it comes to finances, that's so important. And the transparency of it is the key, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't have a problem letting someone know, where I'm at. You're in one of three places. Either you're going through something, you just been through something, or you're in the middle of it. And that can go with anything in life. And so finances is no different.
Right.
So there's different reasons why a person is in that financial state. Mm-hmm. So if you can be transparent on why, because you could be this close to your break to being a multimillionaire. Mm-hmm. And if a person is looking at you because what you have right this very second, and they can't understand what's going on or don't want to understand what's going on, then it's not going to be a good fit. Yeah. But I guarantee 9 times out of 10, they're going to look back and say, you know what? If I gave it a little bit more time, if we just, had better communication or understanding, and then things would be better off. And so it's going to be one of those situations. If that's not good enough, if you feel like that's not good enough, that's just what you're going to have to deal with.
It's not a good fit. I was talking to the couple that have a company called Lovepreneur. Yeah. And they left us, they said something that stuck out to me. They said, we should date patterns, not profit.
That's it.
And so if, because money comes and goes.
It does.
But if a person has patterns of being ambitious and being resourceful, that will eventually come back around.
It will.
But people that you could hit a windfall and have a lot of money, and my mother always told me this, she told me to date ambition, as opposed to that, or what is he doing? Because you could run into a lot of money accidentally, just be in the right place at the right time. But if that's not a part of who you are, you won't maintain it.
That's right.
And you could also be someone that loses it and doesn't have anything when I meet you, but because my patterns and my behavior and my ambition is there, I will always get it back.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's who you want to be with. My preference is always a woman that is resilient, that's been through something, because she understands that things are temporary, versus someone that's never been through something and then they panic, they don't know how to act, right? And you're trying to get me to lose my mind with you. That's not happening, but I think that's really important when you look at the marinade, which, for me, marinade is just basically your thought process and mindset on how you handle conflict and resolution and things like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I think that, it's interesting you said that, if someone's been through something, but for a lot of women, and I'll use my own example, I went through something with someone else and then I decided I don't want to go through that again. Yeah. So on my own, I made it to where I don't have to go through that because I put things in place. I'm in control. When you open your life to someone else, you're not solely in control anymore.
No.
So I have to really trust you, and I have to have all those things you just mentioned in order for me to trust that we can get through this together. Because getting through it by myself, I know I can do that because I have proof that I've done it.
That's right.
So I think, what you said is important about men being able to hit those 4 points so that a woman says, you know what, I do trust your judgment and I trust that we will be able to get through this together.
Yeah. I think that the key also is to do that in the front end.
Absolutely.
Right. And then because you can literally go through those processes and then decide to date or take things to the next level versus already in it and then you waiting for this guy to step up and see if you have these certain skills.
Absolutely.
So if we do that on the front end, which most of the time people that have been married, there's non-negotiables versus when you haven't been married, you're in discovery mode.
Right.
And then you learn what you don't want to deal with after you done been through it and you can't take it no more.
Can't take it. I'm out. And then I got to go through that period of me being hurt and just angry and it's all your fault and then learn, okay, now I'm leveled out. Quick question. We're getting ready to run out of time. What is one thing that you would tell men? Just one quick lesson about dealing with women, especially after divorce.
Yeah, especially after divorce, it's going to take some patience. If you've never been a patient man, Now is your time to learn patience. And even in my experience, it's like sometimes you discover, you unlock something in that woman that she's never discovered before by being patient. You don't know what she's been through. And as men and as leaders, there's certain things that we should bring out in a woman that we're dating and getting to know. And I think that is a bond that is so special that it will take character. It'll take integrity. It will take focus. So just having that patience, just like you would want somebody to have patience with your daughter, or have patience with your mom, or have patience with your sister. You don't want anybody getting aggravated and quick tempered, with your family. So you want to be able to be patient and have that same compassion.
I agree. Thank you so much
for longevity,
joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, Rob. I think that rounds out this conversation, leadership and showing up in a leadership capacity and also being patient. I think those are two of the best ways for us to kind of combat this issue in our community so that, first of all, we've got to take these labels off, masculine and feminine, show up as ourselves, patience with each other. And if you truly desire to be a leader, you've got to show up as a leader from the very beginning. Thank you to my guest, Rob, and we will be right back with more from Let's Get Crystal Clear. All right, so I think we got crystal clear about this idea of women acting as men. I don't think women are acting as men. I think women are acting in a way because they may not feel safe. According to Lou, men need to step up with their leadership, but women also need to understand that in order for a man to do that, you have to be receptive. And of course, Rob just shared with us that men need to be patient. And maybe that's some of the ways that we can start to change this narrative, but most importantly, change this dynamic. It's all about adding context to the conversation, and I think we definitely did that today. Thank you for joining us, and most importantly, thank you to my amazing guests, Rob Malloy and Lou. You can follow both of them on social media, and make sure you come right back next week. There's more conversation from social media. We're adding context to the conversation. This is Let's Get Crystal Clear. I'll see you guys next time.